All right, so welcome back to the Cognition School Podcast. I'm Satoshi Takano. I'm here at the Cognitive Performance Institute here in Vaughan, in Toronto, if you're not from the area. And we do these podcasts because we want to educate you on, the people that are working either in the industry or coaches or players. And we've done some really great interviews. And today we have a really, really, really special guest because he is one of our original athletes that's worked with us since the days of my driveway and garage, and we're sprinting along my street and blocking cars and stuff. So today we have my friend Finn Harding, and I'm truly honored because he just signed his entry-level contract with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think the ink is still fresh on the paper, and so I'm really excited to have you here, Finn. I know that we've been working for a very, very long time, and yeah, I'm so honored to have you here. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, Satoshi. It's an honor to be on, and I look forward to chatting with you here. And yeah, like you said, OG days. I remember way back when we were working out of your garage, getting to work in the summer and the driveway and putting a lot of hard work in, and it's paid off a little bit here. And so hopefully we can keep working together and hopefully keep finding some success.
Yeah, love to hear more about your game and how the stuff that we've been working on has impacted you, and obviously you've had tremendous success. So congratulations on everything. And I guess really my first question is, what does it feel like for you, like for yourself and the family?
Yeah, definitely super grateful, for this opportunity, and it was awesome to celebrate that with my family and my coaches and everyone that supported me, along the way. And it means a lot, and it was cool to celebrate with, everyone that's believed in me, and just one, step in the road, but hopefully we can keep pushing now and the real work begins. So it's exciting.
You know what? I remember when I was working with you, at the garage, like, I mean, we've had so many players that I've worked with, and out of all the kids that have been around and working with us, there was something very different and unique about you that I noticed, where like your maturity level was just like a pro, like a true professional.
Thanks.
So we've got lots of kids that kind of like goof around and stuff, and of course you do too. I know that, but there was this piece that you just wanted to get better, and you always wanted to learn, and anything that we talked about, you kind of go, okay, I'm going to work on that. Okay, I'm going to take that information, and you kind of absorb a lot of the things that we're saying, and coaches talk about players being coachable, and I just found that there was something very unique and special about you. So I mean, this is, like you said, it's just one step in your long career that's about to start. As far as like how you kind of got to where you are today, right? Like, so I've known you since you played for JRC, and it kind of followed your. I mean, what have you kind of learned over those years that's helped you get to where you are now? What would you say that I mean, it doesn't have to be just one thing. It could be, I'm sure there's a lot of different things, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's been a lot of things that I've learned and picked up over the years from countless people, but I think the biggest thing for me is just your daily habits and showing up to the rink, whether it be the gym, the ice, if it's a game, practice, whatever. It could be a community event. Just being present and giving your all and giving your 100%, and controlling the controllables. I think that's the biggest thing. Worrying about what you do and letting everything else come to fruition. I think that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of the time you can get caught up with everything that's going on around you, and I think just being present and showing up to the rink every day and giving it your all is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I definitely think that you definitely have presence, and I really admire that about you. I wish that a lot of kids kind of just kind of stayed in that moment. Where did you kind of pick up on those types of things? Like, I mean, is that just the way you are? Like you're present in everything that you do, and or like, I mean, was there something at home that you kind of realized, oh, maybe that was that moment when I'm present?
Thank you, by the way. But yeah, my parents were big on controlling the controllables and being in the moment. So I thank them for teaching me that lesson and teaching my brother that lesson. And yeah, I find that it helps personally through experience. When you start thinking about the future, stressing about what hasn't even happened yet, I think that's where you run into trouble. And being present and staying in the moment has been my biggest thing throughout the years.
Yeah, I know I know your parents well, and they're just great human beings. Like I truly
Nice.
love, talking to them, and they're always like, friendly, and they're always smiling. And I'm sure they're stressed out of sometimes too. Like I'm a parent
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
but yeah, no, your upbringing, just from what I saw working with you, like that's a huge, huge, huge aspect of it.
Next question.
And what about it with the Steelheads? I know you've been there for a while now, and any kind of lessons that you've learned. I mean, obviously being present is one thing, and anything about being on the Steelheads with a bunch of guys that are obviously younger than you now, and a couple that are older than you. Like any kind of lesson learned that you've learned from there?
Steelheads have been unreal the past 3 years. It's been such a great experience, and I've been lucky to have such great coaches and mentors and teammates especially. And I think you had cracks on, or will have cracks on, I think, by the time this is posted
Yep.
on your podcast. And he was awesome. And Matt Chantano, Stefan Thorne, James Richmond, JR, they're just top to bottom. Been Brower, Fritzy, Brad. I can name them all, but I'll leave it at that for now. But yeah, I think the biggest lesson for me on the ice, I'll say first, is finding that identity. The coaches really helped me find my identity, being hard to play against, transitioning pucks, and being reliable. And then once you kind of keep working on that, and that's something you always have to work on, because you got to be elite at something to make it one day. And then as you go on, you can build off of it. I think off the ice, being resilient, and when things goes up, when things go down, you got to just keep believing in yourself. And I think they taught me that through there's a lot of ups and downs in a season, especially in junior hockey. It's a long schedule, and you have bad games, you have good games, but just continuing to believe in yourself and always showing up to work.
Yeah, I think I mean you've mentioned all the coaches there, and I think that's a huge part, right? And you also mentioned identity, and I think that's an important thing too. At what point did you kind of feel like, my identity, like who I am on the ice, is important? Because I think that the challenge right now, and I'm sure you'd agree, a lot of coaches will do a little bit of everything, right? And all clearly, like, you can't be everything, right? You
Yeah.
can't be, the Russian defenseman all the time. You can't be the defensive defenseman, stay at home all the time. So you're kind of like dabbling in different things, right? Like different types
Yeah.
of roles on the ice. What kind of made you realize, like, hey, this is who I am on the ice, and I'm comfortable with that? Like, how did you come up with that? And by the way, what is your identity on the ice, do you think?
Yeah, so I came into the OHL, like you said, just trying to do everything and try to be everything for a team, and I learned quickly that that's not the way it goes, or you're not going to be successful that way. And to start off, my identity, I think, is being hard to play against, being able to transition pucks and find my forwards, and then be that secondary layer and provide secondary offense. But I think it starts in the D zone, being able to get the puck and move it up. And that's my biggest thing. But like you said, finding identity is the hard part. And I think it takes, great coaches and mentors to find that, but it also takes, a bit of trial and error, like seeing what your strengths are and putting that together and, making a game out of it. Because at the next level, there's so many guys that are good at everything, and you got to find that thing or two to be elite at, and you got to take it and run with it and just really work on it. And I'm working on those things. That's my main point every day. It's just like the defensive side of things. And as I go, I'm going to try to build on, everything, and you want to round out your game, but finding those things that to be elite at and be great at should be, the main focus.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. That's great. I think and I've been trying to say that to a lot of our athletes here, right? Like because they try to be everything. And I said, you can't, it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
What was it?
When you see like Cale Makar and, Quinn Hughes on Instagram, everyone wants to be, I'm the same. Everyone wants to be walking the line like that, or like Lane Hudson, but there are only a few guys like that in the NHL. And so you gotta find another identity, because there are a lot of guys that, transition pucks and play that defensive side of things as well.
Yeah, for sure. I always ask kids, I'm like, who's your, who do you model your game after? Not just who's your favorite player, but who do you model a game after? And I'll have defensemen saying, I model out my game after like Sidney Crosby. I'm like, but that's the totally different position, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. I think, I guess my question too would also be like, who do you model your game after, that you tried to anyway?
Yeah, a few guys. I like watching, games like Brandon Tanev, Forsling on Florida. I really like Brock Faber when he came onto the scene in the NHL last year. He was unreal, and he caught my attention for sure with his game. But guys like that are just great hockey players, and they're great to watch on a nightly basis.
Yeah, yeah. And the other question that I have here, it's something that I'm curious too. Like when you went from, say, junior Canadians to the OHL, like in those early days of your OHL career, what did that feel like for you? Because obviously that's a big jump, right? Like
Yeah.
going from being 16 to now going into the OHL. What was that like for you in the early days?
Yeah, it's not easy by any means. I showed up to my first camp as a 16-year-old from JRC, and unfortunately I didn't make it that year, and the biggest thing for me was the strength aspect, and it felt really fast at the time, and it's really good hockey and it is fast. But that was the biggest thing, was the strength. And so I took that season and played with the U18 program, which I'll always tell people it's one of the best out there. It's such a great program there that they run. But I took that season, really built strength and rounded out my game, and showed up to camp next summer and was fortunate to make the team. But yeah, that jump is big. Like, there are a lot of good players in this league, and it's tough when you're facing like 21-year-olds as a 16, 17-year-old, and that's a big jump, and it takes time definitely to get used to. And it took me a lot of time to find my rhythm and get a grasp at the speed.
Were there times where you kind of got like frustrated that maybe you're not there yet, like keeping up with the pace or anything like that? Were there certain times where you had that type of thought process as well?
Yeah, for sure. There was definitely some hard times and some tough games during that first year, and like I said, it goes back to believing in yourself and continuing to be consistent and showing up to the rink, because there are a lot of games, and for me at least personally, that first year that were just tough, and sometimes it can be hard on the soul a little bit, if you will, and just continuing to believe in yourself and being consistent and knowing that you're going to get out of it and eventually you're going to find your rhythm is the most important thing. It was the most important thing for me.
Yeah. And who would you say, like, it could be on your team or it could be anyone else, who would you say is like one of the tougher guys to play against?
That's a great question. A lot of great players in the league. I got to obviously give credit to my teammates, guys like Martone and Misa, Raycroft, McDonnell that I'm able to play with. Those guys are always fun to play against in practice, and we have a lot of great battles, and just the skill on some of these guys is pretty unreal, and the way they think and process is big, and I know you preach that, and being able to process the game and see things that some guys can't, and those are a few guys mentioned that can really see the game fast and play hard.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think that the guys that you mentioned are just outstanding. So and it's only going to get better and better. And
Yeah.
And obviously you've been at the NHL training camps as well. I remember sending you the photo of your jersey, the practice jersey from Detroit. But what were those camps like for you? I know that obviously, again, that's a whole other level, right?
Yeah, I went undrafted, like you said, my first year, and went to Detroit camp, which was unreal, and then was fortunate enough this year to be drafted by the Penguins and go to their camp. And from both camps, they were both unreal. And the biggest thing for me was just the speed, and it's the way guys think. You learn quickly that everyone has a lot of skill, and obviously it varies, but everyone has skill, but it's how quickly you can process and see things and see your cues, whether it be defending or playing offense. But especially with those NHL guys, they usually just think and can move the puck so quick. And, it was fun to defend that and be a part of that and, learn off guys. It's one thing to watch them on TV, but, when you're 5 feet away from them and defending them, you really learn a lot. And, I just went into those camps trying to be a sponge and take as much as I could out of it. And, I've learned a lot, and I hope to continue to learn a lot and kind of just soak it all in and hopefully play there one day and be able to compete.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that we always talk about the speed of the game, and when you look at it from the 300 section and up high, you just kind of see like these dots kind of moving around.
It looks easy, yeah.
It looks so easy. It's like, why can't he see that? Why can't he go there? What's wrong with you, right? Like it's easy to kind of like pinpoint those things.
Yeah.
And I mean, good or bad, right? Like it's one of those things. But man, when you get to that ice level, like it is super fast, right? Like
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that whole change of speed, and I mean, especially for those folks that are always kind of sitting up high and pointing fingers and saying this is wrong and that's wrong and you're not doing this. Like I mean, what would you say to those types of people that kind of think, oh, it should be that hard to see this guy?
Yeah, it's a fast moving game, and there's a lot going on, and so you just kind of be calm and make your plays and have your head up and be able to process that. And I think it takes a bit of adjusting to do, especially at that level. But I think just the biggest thing is just trusting yourself and and being able to process. But yeah, like you said, it definitely looks slower from up top, and then when you get to that ice level, you're like, oh man, these guys can really move and move that puck, and it's fast hockey and takes some time to get used to, and you got to be able to work with you and get that processing going, and being able to think quick.
Yeah, and that's something that that we try to do here as well. Like we're trying to help, players to think faster than the game. So then when they're in the regular game, it's like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. I know what to do here. Like, right? It's not going to be like slow, obviously at your level, but
yeah
it's that ability to just kind of keep up and go, okay, I can control this, right?
Yeah 100%.
I guess couple other things that kind of reflect back on like signing with the Penguins and stuff. Like, I mean, you as a kid, like obviously you wanted to make the NHL, and I knew that from early days for you as well. And growing up, like you had that dream. Now you're in a position where you can now start giving advice to the younger generations. Like, what would you say to those types of kids that want to be in the position that you're in now?
Thanks, by the way. Appreciate that. That's a kind note. I think the biggest thing for me is not being afraid to make mistakes. I think as a younger kid, and personally me, in the moment you kind of stress out, like, I don't want to make this play, I don't want to try this new thing because coach is going to get mad, or dad or mom's going to get mad. But I think the biggest thing is just playing your game and being loose and trying new things, because that's at the end of the day how you get better. Because really it's you got to try as much as you can, because you never know how good you are, or what's your game until you try everything. And I think just being free and trying everything is the biggest thing. And also, like, I preach on it and I'll continue to preach on it, is the consistency and work ethic of it, and just doing that doing those extra things after practice, before practice, after the workout. All the great guys that I've seen, and the best of what I've seen so far, all do that extra work and commit to their game and their skill sets. And the main thing is the main thing with them, and I think that's the biggest thing. But the two things would be, not being afraid to make mistakes, and consistency.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you just said right there. I mean, making mistakes and learning from it and staying calm, and it's hard, right? Because you want to make mistakes so you learn, but you can't afford to make the mistakes because you play for a team, right? So
Yeah,
you're kind of always on this back and forth, and yeah, and that's a hard reality for you as well. How do you kind of maintain that? Like, you obviously want to learn, you want to grow, you want to stay later and work on and hone on your skills, which is good. But then there's also kind of the recovery element of it as well, and making sure that you stay healthy and you've got the energy to do it. How do you kind of balance between those two different, like, they're very contrasting worlds, right?
yeah, for sure. You definitely got to have that balance between burnout and recovery, and being fresh at all times. But I think that comes with trial and error. Like, I kind of have run into moments where I think I felt a bit burnt out when you do too much. But also you feel like, oh, I got more to give, like I should be doing more. But I think it's just finding that balance, and it takes some time, that because everyone's different. You got to find what works for you, and yeah, you just got to explore with it and try different things.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, and you kind of have to be strategic as to where you want to make those mistakes.
Yeah,
What type of scenario environment that you want to make those mistakes. Obviously, you want to do it in a controlled environment where,
yeah,
like, it could be a practice, or it could be an off-ice session, or whatever it is,
yeah.
or
Time
video.
and
And
place. Yeah,
yeah, there's a time and place to make those mistakes. So I
yeah,
think,
100%.
I think that's where people kind of, maybe misinterpret some of that as well, where, coach says, yeah, don't go make your mistakes, but then don't lose the game for us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's always
Yeah,
the
yeah,
back and forth for sure. Let's talk about a little bit about, like, pressure situations for you and how you kind of manage that. Obviously, you're going into playoffs now, so
yeah,
there's a new set of pressure that's going to be upon you. Also, I guess when you play throughout your Steelheads days, that scouts are watching, right? And
yeah.
for every game, what's kind of like your routine, or what do you do in order to kind of manage that pressure that is on you, right, at all times?
Preparation and for me, breath work, to be honest, helps a lot. But the big thing for me is preparation. I think when I go in the games, and especially playoff games, and in any game, it's the preparation. It's what I do beforehand, what I do the night before, what I'm eating, all that stuff put together, I think helps my confidence and helps me, stay in the moment and stay present, because I know that I've done all that I can, and it's now just up to me to, play the game and do my thing and believe in myself. And, I think breath work helps too. I've read a couple books about breathing and slowing down your breath and being present and being able to control the controllables and in and out kind of thing. And that's really helped, I think, before games or even during games on the bench, and I find it slipping away a little bit for me. I think just taking a second and just slowing my breath down really helps.
Yeah, no, those are important. I think, you mentioned two things. One, preparation for sure. I think that is a huge piece. If you're not prepared and all of a sudden you see things that are new and that is not familiar to you, that can kind of raise the anxiety a little bit, or get nervous, or right. So I think preparation, like you said, I think is key, regardless of what you do. To me, that's a life skill, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you do it in business, like even for this podcast, interview, right? Like I have generally a good idea of what we want to talk about, and this isn't just. There's some ad hoc stuff here, but at the same time, we prepare for this type of stuff, and just making sure that you're able to join this podcast and those types of things. It's a life skill, and I think what you touched on is brutally important. The other thing that you mentioned is breath work, and I'm sure you've got like mental skills coaches around you to help you as well, and because now it's not just about just go hard and kill people now. Like, those are like my days, right? When I used to play, it's like, just go and kill people, right? Like if you get nervous, go hit someone. Like that's how we were raised. But now it's different, right? Like, so tell me a little bit about like the breath work or any kind of mental skills side of things, just to help you stay focused. Like, do you get people, like coaches, to help you with that?
The mental side is so important. Personally, I don't really have a coach, that I consistently work with, but just from the people that I've talked to, my coaches, parents, they've all been really helpful, when I need to talk about whatever. And, but yeah, breath work, I think I'm big on reading. And so I've gotten a lot of that from just certain books I've read, and it's really helped. And I think it took some trial and error to just find out what kind of works. And there's a lot out there, like different kind of ways to breathe that you don't know. And it's pretty interesting actually. And I think, personally, I found it really helps just to kind of center yourself. And, I hope to learn more about it and continue to learn so I can, find the way to optimize my inner zen during games a little bit.
That's awesome, man. Any particular book that you read, like that kind of, taught you a little bit about the breathwork side?
Yeah. Breath, actually, the book's called.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really good.
Awesome.
I can't think of the author, but
yeah. Okay.
That one was really big for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you kind of read? You're obviously on the bus a lot, right? Like traveling to different cities and stuff. What are some of the things that you do? Like, do you read a lot? Do you just sleep? What do you do on the bus there?
Yeah. I got some great teammates, so we love to chat about whatever, and we pass time playing fun games like card games like War. Reading's big. Sometimes if it's a long bus ride, like those Sault Ste. Marie trips are long, those northern trips. So sometimes you put on a movie or game film like from the night before, or or pre-scout. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things, and especially when you got great teammates like we have at the Steelheads, that's it flies by.
Who's like the joker of the team right now that kind of makes you laugh all the time?
We got a lot of funny guys actually.
I know,
Stevie's hilarious.
Stevie. Yep, he's up there.
Stevie's hilarious. He's my D partners. Me and him chat a lot, and he's the best. And yeah, we got a lot of funny personalities on the team. It makes it for interesting every time.
You know what? That's literally like your family, right? Like those look the only people that you're around all the time, right? So absolutely.
100%.
As far as your off ice goes, what do you do? Off ice that kind of keeps you energized, or that's not hockey related, right? Like what kind of things do you have? A hobby? Do you do anything on the side? Like, do you have like a multi-million-dollar business going on? What do you do when you're not on the ice or in the gym?
No multi-million business. Yeah. Hopefully
not yet,
maybe, but yeah, not yet. But in the summer, I love playing tennis. My whole family plays, and so we play a lot together, and it gets pretty intense. Sometimes we're leaving the court, not talking to each other at times. But they're the best to play with. We got a competitive foursome, so it's really fun, and I really enjoyed tennis, and I think I love just being outside and doing that. But I think when it's winter and it's not as pleasant to go outside. I think reading's big for me. That's probably the biggest one. Just I'm trying to learn stuff, and currently I'm not in school, and so that's how I kind of, get a lot of my knowledge, and finding new books and soaking it all in is big for me as well.
Were you always a big reader when you were younger too?
Not really, a little bit. My parents definitely gave me some good books to read. It was like the Harry Potters and all that. But I really started reading educational books, I would say, around like the OHL draft.
Okay.
Like when quarantine, I really, found a lot of good books, and it really just you just need the right book to kind of get you into it. And I found the right book, and from there I've been reading ever since. Usually it's about like psychology things and hockey related. I love biographies, like finding out what, some of the greats, like their stories, and getting inspiration from it. And it's read a lot of good things over the years, so it's been good.
That's great because people think like that we're all like bookworms or something, and we're not necessarily like that, right? Like there's some book, like for me it was like a Tony Robbins thing, right? For me it was about personal development and growth, and that's what got me hooked. Right.
Yeah.
Before, I'd never used to read a book cover to cover, like ever, right? Like in school.
Yeah.
So, and then I discovered, oh wait, there's some things that I could learn from. And the other thing that I learned, and I don't know, this might be something for you too. So when I was in university, there was a piece of paper, like a flyer on the wall, that was talking about speed reading and learn how to speed read. And I saw that, and I'm like, huh. And then it wasn't related to the university at all. But it was just this woman who just wanted to hold these seminars in one of the classrooms, and she posted it there. I think it was like $150 or something. It was like an 8-week course, right? That she put together. And I learned to speed read. And it was actually good because she hit the nail on the head for me, which was, while I'm reading, I'm always thinking about something else that's not related to the book. And so it was hard for me to kind of get into it at the time. Yeah. And I learned that, okay, if you do it this way, if you read this way, you'll read much faster. You'll still absorb the information, but your mind's not going to drift, right? I'm thinking about dinner and lunch and, what other activity am I going to do? So I took that course, and to this day, I still use it. And so.
Wow. You got to give me her information, and
I don't know where she is now, but really the secret is, honestly, is like I've got, like if I have like this sheet of paper, right? Basically what she's saying is there's 3 parts. One is when you're reading the line, right? Like the paragraph or the sentence, you want to read the top half of the word. So when you're scanning the top half of the word, and you can still make out that word, right? So that's one piece.
Okay, yeah.
So instead of looking at the whole word, you're just looking at half.
Gets you focusing.
Yeah, so you focus on the top half. The second piece is you take your finger and you just kind of go at a fairly quick pace. So that finger basically helps you stay focused on the pace, right? So you're reading the top half, and then you're kind of going down like this. And then the other thing is, where you focus on is not you're not going word for word like this. You're shrinking the capacity that your eyes are focused on, and you're reading the top half at the same time. So it's actually kind of like using your peripheral vision in a way, right? So you're kind of looking at the beginning and the end, but you're not actually reading those words. So those are like the 3 things I learned from that course. And I was literally your age when I took that course. So
thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
You should try this. It's fascinating, man, because I still use it to this day. Anyway, I know we're off topic, but but the reading, I think, is definitely important. I don't think people read enough, right? They just go onto social media and they just kind of scroll, and that's it. And I think that definitely picking up a book, like, I mean, yes, I write and I handwrite in my notes and stuff, so I can remember things better. So there's a lot of little things that I find definitely helps me. Anyway, so looking ahead, like what are some things that you think you need to work on to, once you, obviously you're not going to show up at the training camp again with the Penguins, and what are some things that you're kind of preparing for, hopefully, to make the team for next season? Skating's
a big one. The game is so fast nowadays, and it's something I'm currently working on, and we'll continue to work on as long as I play, because being a mobile defender, I think, is a huge thing. And whether it's transitioning or skating forwards or backwards, I'm always trying to work on skating and just trying to improve my stride and being as efficient as I can. Because there's a lot of fast forwards out there that we got to defend, and so being able to keep up with them is big.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything that you've changed relative to skating, like compared to say when you're working, early days, right?
Yeah.
Or even in minor hockey, like would you say you've kind of changed a little bit in terms of your skating, or have you kind of kept the same kind of thing going? You just obviously a little bit faster.
Yeah, I think for the most part I kept it the same, but this season, I think I've made a lot of changes. In all honesty, I've worked with an awesome skating coach in Jeff Murray. He's been unreal. And Jeff, if you're watching this, thank you very much for all the tips and pointers. He's with the Penguins, and he's come in a few times to work with me, and it's really helped. Like just the details that you would never have thought about that go into stride, and it's all the little things and mechanics. And I really learned a lot from him this year, and I can say, it's come along, but hopefully it looks that way when you see me next. And it's something, it's a work in progress, and it's going to take a long time, but it's got to have that consistency, and I've just been trying to work on it a lot.
You know what? That to me, like, I mean, the fact that you said skating tells me that you're a true pro, like in many ways, because you think
Thanks.
everybody's like, everybody's good, everybody skates, I'm working with this coach, therefore I'm good. Like there's a lot of like things that I hear in this industry where, people are just like, I just got to work on my shot. I just got to work on my shot, and
Yeah.
obviously you shoot well too, but the fact that you said skating, I think is something that you work on your craft, right? Like you're true professionals. I think a lot of people can learn from that you're never done. In other words, like there's always something new. And just because you think, oh, I'm good at that, I'm good. It's like, yeah, but when you get to that next level, it's a whole different game, right? So
100%. Yeah. All the things you just can never be comfortable ever. There's always a bigger fish.
Yeah.
Like you said, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once you get comfortable, I think you're done,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Any type of memorable experiences or kind of favorite moments from your hockey career? I mean, you've been through a lot in the last what are you, 20 now? 21?
20, yeah, I just turned 20.
20. You've been alive for 20 years now. Like any kind of memorable experiences throughout your hockey career that you wanted to share?
I think way back when, I don't know if you heard of the Brick tournament.
Yep.
Yeah,
Everybody's heard of the Brick.
Yeah, I played for pro hockey in that tournament. Unfortunately we couldn't pull out the win, but that was like my first really big like tournament, like where I played against people from across the country or from the States, and that was like my real taste at like national hockey. And so I think that was a pretty cool experience. I remember thinking like that was like I'd made it at that point. Like it was just this unreal mall. Like you're in this mall and with like water parks and like roller coasters and booster juice right next to the rink. You just felt like a pro, and you're like 9 years old, and it was just that was a pretty cool tournament. And to go with my family, and my brother, and teammates, we would hit the water parks. It was just pretty unreal and pretty good competition too. Like Bedard was at that tournament and a lot of other good players, and it was fun. I think that was my first real taste at like, wow, there's a lot of good players out there and like you never even heard of, and it was definitely motivating, and it was a fun experience.
Yeah, no, it's and it's interesting you say that, because I remember playing in hockey tournaments myself, and do I remember anything about the game? Absolutely not. But I remember the water parks, and I remember the, what was the movies we saw and the horror movies we saw. And so,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that you talk about memorable experiences, and I think that's what it's all about, right? Like, it's about the friends you made and who you played against, and just like your experiences with your family. I mean, to this day, we used to go to Buffalo like for tournaments. That used to be our away tournaments. Like that was like the big deal. None of this like, let's go to Edmonton Mall and play there. And to this day, I went to Duff's for chicken wings the first time in my entire life, and I loved it. And to this day, I still go, right? Like, and I remember exactly where it is, like it was yesterday. And I don't even need a map to get there because I know where it is. Yeah. But those are the types of experiences, right? Yeah, it's the little things, man. Like. Yeah. And I think that's sometimes maybe a lost art in life now, especially in hockey, right? Or anything competitive for that matter, because you want to perform, you want to do well, you want to get to the next level. I get that. But at the same time, you right at the beginning, like you said it yourself, like being present in the moment, right? Absorbing as much as possible, and just soaking it all in. I mean, you basically have kind of lived that life, right? And I think that people kind of miss that because they're so focused on, I want to, hit that milestone, right? So, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Any kind of last, few comments about for anything for the parents kind of, listening to this? Because I do have a lot of parents that's gonna watch this type of stuff. Any suggestions in terms of this is how I kind of got here because of my parents, and I know that your parents are amazing people. Any suggestions for them in terms of how involved they should be, or should they kind of let the kid be? Where do you kind of sit on that one?
First off, you mentioned my parents. Shout out to them. They've done so much for my brother and I and have really been just unreal. All the drives and hard work and sacrifice that they've made in order for my brother and I to play this sport and have really just put the love in the game for us. And they're awesome. And shout out to them if I'm sure they'll watch this at some
I'm
point.
sure they will.
Yeah, they're the best. And so, but sorry, back to your question. Yeah, I think there's definitely that. I think I'm trying to find the word here. That balance, if you will, from being too involved, taking that step back. And I think, I think it should be up to the kid a lot of the time. But you also, I'm not a parent, so it's a tough question. I don't want to overstep. Letting him, love the game and him make those decisions, and it should be up to him if he really loves it or if she really loves it. Then they'll want to go and they'll want to put in that extra work, and obviously you got to guide them and give them those options, but at the end of the day it's up to them to make it work and do their best, and if the passion is not there, then sometimes it's hard to put that fire in. You can obviously guide, but the passion comes from the kid, obviously.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, I mean, you've wanted to play hockey for a long time and
100%, yeah.
and do your absolute best. Was there ever a moment where like maybe you wanted to try a different sport or anything like that? Did you grow up playing any other sports, by the way?
Yeah, soccer was a big one for me.
Okay.
I got some Italian in my background, so definitely tried out some soccer, and yeah, exactly. It was that was really fun. A little bit of lacrosse, and I played all the sports in school and loved it. But in all honesty, actually ball hockey too. I really loved ball hockey.
Yeah.
Shout out Withrow Park. Yeah, I love ball hockey. But hockey was always the main thing for me, to be honest. And those sports were just kind of other activities and getting out, and I loved them all. Like, as a little bit of a side note, playing other sports I find helped me so much, and just in terms of just rounding out your athletic abilities and the variability of different movements, I think really helped me. And yeah, but hockey was always kind of the main thing for me, and that was always the goal, is to play hockey.
Yeah, I think you nailed that one, because multi-sport I think is so critical. I've seen so many parents that, especially today, right? Like with hockey being a year-round sport now, and with spring and summer and all this stuff going on, and trying to keep up with all the other Joneses and the.
Yeah, it's 12 months a year. It's nuts.
It is, right? And playing like whatever 3 games a day or something like that, and so they don't have time to play any other sports. But I think you also mentioned playing school sports and just doing pick up anything, right? Like you mentioned ball hockey. Well, you play ball hockey because you enjoy playing ball hockey, not because you think, if I do this, then I'm gonna get better at my hockey. Right, like there's not like this master plan of like doing any sports. You just wanted to play, and I think that's the generation I grew up in too, right? Which is like, you just get up and play. It doesn't matter where. Like you're throwing balls and playing catch, and I think that's another kind of a lost thing today, because people are so focused on, my kid wants to make the NHL, therefore he's got to play this and he's got to do this, and I think there's almost too much strategy in a way, where it's like you said, just let him play. Right? Yeah.
You learn so much, and you meet so many different people when you get to play those other sports. And I have lifelong friends in all other kinds of sports, like in soccer and lacrosse, that I still in touch with, and so I enjoyed those experiences a lot, and I'm cherished them to this day for sure.
Yeah, I'm the same too. Like even to this day, like there's guys that and I played a bunch of other sports too, and I remember I used to hate the other team.
Yeah.
Like you literally hated the guys on the other team, but then you meet them like, at the mall or something, and they're like, wait a minute, didn't you play for so-and-so team? And I played against you. They're like, yeah. I'm like, I hated your guts, and, I wanted to destroy you. But at the same time, that's how relationships are built. And I think that people kind of miss out on that too. Right. So
Yeah.
No, I think it's great, and kudos to you because you've really kind of absorbed and taken on so much that will make a positive impact, and I truly admire that about you. I wish more kids learn from those types of things as opposed to this kid's awful, this kid sucks, like trying to destroy everything else around them as opposed to kind of building people around you up and along with your teammates, because I think that those are life skills that I think will carry on with you for as long as you're playing and or even after your
Thanks.
career. Yeah.
Thanks, Toshi.
Yes, that's plenty of information for me to kind of start to map out, something great for the kids. So I truly appreciate you coming on today. I know you've got a lot coming up, and I definitely look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
Yes,
And
sir.
yeah, so good luck to you in the playoffs too. And I hope I get to see you sometime soon here. And yeah, no, I think I truly appreciate you coming on today.
100%. Thank you very much for having me. It was awesome talking on this. I've seen a bunch of these podcasts, and so it's truly an honor to be on it and talk on it. And you're the best, Toshi. I really appreciate it. And I thank you for all the hard work we put in. And I look forward to seeing the new facility and getting back to work with you. And yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Awesome. So this concludes our episode of the Cognition School. So thanks again for joining. We'll put this on onto YouTube, and hopefully you guys will subscribe. But thanks again for joining, and we will talk to you very, very soon. Thank you.